Hello everybody and welcome back to another Borderlands video, and today we're going to be taking a look at Flak. Before we get into the video itself though, I want to say, hey, I realized I said, I'm back, and then didn't upload anything for 2 months, but hey, I'm back again. So let's go ahead and keep the video train a-going and see if we can get past 2. That's the goal. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at Flak, and specifically, rather than just looking at the actual skill tree itself, we're going to be making a build. Now, the build that I'm going to be making for Flak is one that I've kind of been looking into on what I'm going to be building Flak into for level 50. And I'm going to be doing this for all of the Vault Hunters, so leave me a comment in the comment section which Vault Hunter you would like to see a custom build for first, and what should it focus on? Survivability, damage, co-op? You let me know what you would like to see. For now, we're going to be focusing entirely on his action skill, which is called Fade Away. Flak will cloak, and Flak can then fire 3 shots while cloaked, and it will give him increased critical damage, some health regen, and some movement speed while he is in the cloak. In addition, it lasts for 15 seconds and has a cooldown of 45 seconds. Now, this tree is going to completely change how that skill works and what we're going to be doing with it. So let's go ahead and hit the reset here, and let's just go ahead and let's just jump right into it. So first off, we're going to be using Fade Away as our main action skill. And we're also going to use the Jabber sidekick, which, if you don't know about Flak, basically he can choose between 3 different minions, and they will be on the battlefield with him the entire time. In addition, they will give him a passive bonus. The Jabber will give him a passive bonus of 5% movement speed. So, moving into the skill tree, the first thing we're going to go ahead and pick up is Furious Attack, which is a hunter skill. And it's very important that I mention that that is a hunter skill. We're going to go ahead and get 5 points of that. So every time I deal damage with any kind of attack, I will basically get extra gun damage and extra gun handling. Gun handling is how fast you swap between different weapons. So we will get the extra gun damage, which is the important part here, up to 10 stacks, which is going to be 20% gun damage for 4 seconds, as long as we keep firing at our target. Now, 20% doesn't actually sound that much, but don't worry, that will actually get much better later on. Next up, we're going to go ahead and go into Overclocked. This is a regular skill. Flak will gain increased fire rate, and after a reload, will gain an additional increased fire rate, giving you about 20%. For about 4 seconds. Now, our first augment that we're going to be throwing in is Gorillas in the Mist. Fade Away no longer ends with just 3 shots. Now, you do lose a very significant portion of the actual critical damage. Instead of 200%, it's going to be 50%, but that's okay. We're going to make up for that here in just a second. So anyway, we keep shooting, and we're going to be able to keep the entire... We can basically fire off as many shots as we want in the cloak, and no matter where we hit them on the body, we can shoot them in the foot for all that matters. We will gain a critical hit no matter what. And that is very important to this build, which means we're going to want to spend as much time in our action skill as possible. So we're going to go ahead and get the kill skill, Eager to Impress. Whenever Flak or Flak's pet gets a kill, the cooldown time for the action skill actually goes down by 2.5 seconds if the pet gets the kill, and 1.25 seconds if Flak gets the kill. Next up, we're going to be moving into Hidden Machine. We're going to go ahead and put 5 points into that. That's going to give us 30% damage when an enemy is targeting something other than Flak, which, if he's in his action skill, means that they will not be targeting him, because he cannot be targeted while in his action skill because he's actually cloaked and invisible. So this will actually be very nice, and it's just good in general for when you're out of your action skill and the enemy is on your pet. And we're going to go ahead and also pick up our second augment here, which is Unblinking Eye. Successful hits on the same target increase the critical damage per hit. Unblinking Eye resets every 3 hits. So my first shot will deal 50% damage. The second hit will deal 125% damage, and then the next hit will deal 200% damage, and so on. And then after the third hit, it will actually just reset entirely. Now, this is going to counteract the damage loss that we picked up from getting Gorillas in the Mist. So this will let me full auto with pretty much any weapon in the game, while still being able to maintain the majority of the damage that we lost. This is going to significantly increase his damage, and it's going to synergize very well, but we'll speak more on that later. Next up, we're also going to pick up the Fast and the Furious? I don't know if it would be pronounced differently. Anyway, it's 25% gun damage and 10% movement speed. While above half health, this build will be basically focusing around being above the half health while also just trying to stay at full health as much as possible. Speaking of staying at full health, we have to also make a decision here on what we want to do. Now, we're going to be mostly running and gunning this entire time. So we're going to go ahead and put a couple points into turn, tail, and run. Now, this will give Flak damage reduction while moving, and in addition, will regen 0.6% of the maximum health while moving. And will also give fire rate while standing still, as well as gun damage while standing still. Now, the reason that's important and not going into rage and recover is because while this is a kill skill that regenerates your health, it regenerates a portion of your missing health, none of your maximum health, which means it will not bring you up to full HP, which is important for his capstone, which is the power inside. Flak and Flak's pet will gain increased damage when the action skill is active. Now, this is important because it is a modifier, basically. Think of it as like, if I increase my damage by 25%, I will then deal 50% extra critical damage of that new 25%. So they're multiplying with each other. So I'm increasing my base damage as high as I can, and then we're going to throw on some critical multipliers to just keep wailing away at the enemy with all of this crit damage. Now, that's pretty much all the points that we're going to be putting into this tree. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on over to the Hunter tree. Now, the first thing we're going to go ahead and pick up is Leave No Trace. This is definitely something you're going to want once you actually get the critical ability. This is going to make it so whenever you score a critical hit, there is a chance that 1 ammo will be added to the magazine. You probably can already tell where this is going. So for 8 seconds while you are in there, every single shot has a 36% chance of basically not consuming ammo, is the way that you should see this. Which means we're bringing back good old Salvador, except instead of never running out of ammo, we have never running out of ammo while also critting every single shot. So it gets a little ridiculous when you try and combine these skills together. Now, it is 36%, it's not 50, but when you combine that with an AR, you will definitely be able to get the maximum, value out of your cloak, as it's only going to last for 8 seconds. So this skill only needs to keep you firing for those 8 seconds, and then you can reload. Speaking of reloading, we could go for second intention, but honestly, the reload speed is not worth it. A lot of the guns reload just fine. You do not need an additional, well, what is this maxed out? 13% regular reload speed, or 23% if you crit killed it. It's honestly not worth it. So we're going to go ahead and pull those 5 points out. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and throw 4 points into Interplanetary Stalker. This is a hunter kill skill. Again, it's important to clarify a hunter kill skill, and I'll go over that later. Basically, this ability here, as you can see, has a variety of different bonuses. When you kill an enemy, you will gain a bonus based on the actual enemy that you killed. If you killed a robot, you would get corrosive damage. If you killed a beast, you would get movement speed. If you killed a human, you would get action skill damage. And if you just killed something, you would just get straight up damage. Now, this is very nice. It stacks up to 3, and it lasts for a short time. It doesn't really say how long a short time is, sadly. So that's just unfortunate. Kind of wish I knew how long that was. But don't worry, it will last just long enough. So the next skill we're going to be going into here is called Head Count. Whenever Flak scores a critical hit, there is a chance that the action skill cooldown is reduced. Now, sadly, this isn't like Salvador where he can regenerate his action skill while he's in it, because that would just be stupid if he could full auto crits and regen his full auto crit while he was critting, just being a non-stop killing machine. But either way, you're going to be combining this with a fast firing, low damage SMG or AR or something of that matter to just rapidly crit an enemy to get back into your damage mode. So as soon as you fall out of cloak, the first thing you want to do, swap to your fast firing weapon and just deal as many critical hits as possible so you can get your action skill back. After that, we're going to go ahead and go into Two Fang, which is a returning skill from BL2. For those who played 0, remember that this is a chance to fire an extra projectile per shot. Now this is very important, as it says chance to fire an extra projectile, which means that it is not consuming an additional shot being fired out of your gun. It will simply fire an extra shot for free. This is important because Two Fang previously would fire 2 shots, which means you would have to reload sooner. This is different, which also means that the additional shot could have a chance to crit, adding a shot back into your mag. So there's a 25% chance that you fire the shot and a 36% chance that it gets added back into your mag for free. So I'm bad at math, but there's a percent chance that basically you get an extra bullet for no real downside. Now, the reason I've been talking about hunter kill skills is big game. We're going to go ahead and put 3 points into that. And what big game does for us is Flak's hunter skills become much more effective and have a longer duration, which means every hunter skill effect will be increased by 30% and have an increased duration of 100%, which means if we go back to the previous skill here, Furious Attack, it will have a 30% increase and it will last for 8 seconds before decaying instead of 4 seconds, which is huge in moment-to-moment gameplay. So you won't have to worry about reloading and losing your stacks. You'll be able to reload and keep them going into the next shot. Next thing we're going to go up for is the most dangerous game. We're going to throw 3 points into this. This is a hunter kill skill, so again, we will get that bonus from big game, but whenever Flak kills a badass enemy or stronger, they gain critical hit damage, and gun handling for a long time. Long time in this case being 2 minutes, which with Big Game Hunter is actually going to be 4 minutes. Imagine just having a buff for 4 minutes. That is ridiculous, especially when you play on the higher difficulties. In Borderlands 2, you know that there's a badass like every couple of seconds around the corner. So you're pretty much just going to have this buff non-stop the entire time. And that critical hit damage is going to definitely synergize with your staying in the cloak, and the gun damage is just going to be a nice little cherry on top. The gun handling, again, is also going to be very nice. And then finally, Flak deals increased critical hit damage by 15%. We're just going to go ahead and pick that one up. And that is pretty much going to max out Flak's skill tree. Now, there are a whole bunch of different skills that Flak could kind of go for, but this is the build that I've decided I'm going to be running for the most part, because I like having pretty much just run and gun playstyle and just being full on aggression the whole time. Just don't give the enemy to actually fire a shot and just go nuts. By the way, the capstone for this is Megavore, which gives you a 20% chance to crit anywhere on the body, which doesn't really sound all that great when we can just spec into fadeaway and we can just make every shot a critical hit. So let me know what you think of this build. Obviously with class mods, you know, we could change up this build drastically. If certain skills in the master skill tree or skills in the hunter or whatever skill tree you know, get buffed, we could change up this build a little bit. Maybe we could go into self-repairing system instead of going turn, tail, and run. It really just depends on how the class mods are going to put points into the actual skill trees. We don't actually know that yet, but based on what I've played of Flak, I did actually get a chance to get a hands-on with Flak, and I hopefully will be able to show that to you all in the future. Can't say when, we'll say soon. Soon's always the best word. Soon TM. I love soon. Everybody loves the word soon. Anyway, I can't wait to show Flak, and I think this build is definitely going to be the build for me. So let me know in the comment section, which character would you like to see next for this? And also, would you like to actually see the full process of me actually so what I end up doing is I pretty much just go through the skill tree and I just keep speccing into things, talking it out to myself, thinking up in my head. Like, I've just spent hour upon hour upon hours just kind of thinking up these different builds to try and get. Would you like to see the entire thought process behind actually going into each of these skills, or just see the actual build themselves? You let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow for the next Borderlands video. Thank you, and goodbye.